Calvin was just standing there, one hand resting on the rusted handle of a cart full of soda crates, the other dangling like he hadn't moved in hours. No one noticed him when the bikes rolled up loud, circling the edge of the gas station lot, like a pack of dogs testing for weakness. No one cared when the first biker laughed and nudged the old man's back with the front wheel. But you saw it. Right now, you're the only one seeing this the way it actually happened, not the version that got buried under headlines and hush money. You're watching the part that wasn't supposed to surface. And if you're still here, it's already too late. You've opened the wrong file. There was something wrong with the air. Not just the tension. Something quieter, deeper. Like the silence right before a train hits, but no one's blowing the horn. Calvin didn't stumble when they pushed him. He didn't yell. He didn't even blink. Just turned around slow. His eyes so black and still, they didn't catch light, only held it hostage. His voice, when it came, was barely above a whisper. But all four bikers heard it. And you need to know this part, because it's the only thing they said before they vanished. He said, "Don't follow the girl in white." That's it. No yelling, no threats, no fight. Just those 6 words. Like he wasn't warning them, but someone watching. Someone like you. And then the biggest one, the guy with the eagle tattoo under his eye, dropped his helmet. Muttered something about not again, and they all peeled off like the damn devil was behind them. Gone in seconds. Left tire marks, a burning stench, and nothing else. Calvin just kept moving crates like none of it happened. But here's the thing no one can explain. 2 days later, one of those bikers was found face down in a dry creek bed near Abilene, lungs full of salt water. Another was caught screaming at the edge of a closed tunnel in New Mexico, pointing at something no one else could see, repeating the same phrase. The girl, she walks backward. You ever get the feeling something's watching you through? Reflections. I mean, really watching, like it's been waiting for you to turn your head just once, so it can move. A gas station attendant, Clara, age 26, quit her job that night. She said Calvin's shadow didn't match his body. Said it moved a second, slower than him. No one believed her. No one asked what she saw behind the ice machine. But you're asking it now, aren't you? The one question that's been scratching at your mind since this started, the one no one's dared to ask out loud. Not in courtrooms, not on podcasts, not even in confessional booths. The question they buried under bad lighting, broken security, cams, and rewritten witness reports. Who is the girl in white? And right now, behind you, no, not in the room, just behind the memory of it too, might feel it. That pause, that shift, that little sense of wrongness you've been carrying since the video started. You need to know one last thing before the next part unfolds. Calvin disappeared last week. But someone heard his voice through a truck radio in Arizona. The truck was off, and the radio wasn't plugged in. They said Calvin disappeared last week. But that's not exactly true, because I saw him yesterday just for a second, at a Waffle House off Route 19. Same coat, same slow, fluid movement like time hadn't touched him. But when I blinked, he wasn't sitting in that booth anymore. The seat was still warm. Coffee cup half full. Steam rising like breath off a corpse. The waitress swore no one had been there. We haven't had an old black man in here since. She trailed off. Checked the register, like the date was more important than her memory. Forget it, she mumbled. Probably just déjà vu. Déjà vu doesn't leave fingerprints on laminated menus. I wasn't even supposed to be there. That's the part that's bothering me now. I was driving toward my cousin's place in Baton Rouge, left from the gas station 2 hours earlier. No stops, no turns, but somehow ended up 60 miles east. Off a road I don't remember taking. And that missing time, I didn't notice it until I heard the radio crackle again. No music. Just static, like it was choking on something, and underneath the static, barely there, just behind the low hiss, was a voice. His voice. Calvin, but not talking. Breathing, heavy, strained, like he was holding something in, or holding something back. I tried. Shutting off the radio, didn't work. Tried yanking the whole damn console out, but the voice just shifted. Moved into the air vents, into the buzz of the phone charger, into the sound of my own breath echoing inside my skull. And then I started hearing a second voice, smaller, thinner. A girl's voice, laughing. That's when I called Lena. Now I need to be careful here, because Lena isn't who she used to be. She was with me that day at the gas station. She saw the bikers push Calvin, swore she heard his warning too. But later, weeks later, she told me she never remembered being there. Said the gas station doesn't exist. That it's a burned out patch of dirt on Google Maps. She said I'd been texting her things she never read. Showing her photos that don't show up in her phone. She said I had started mixing dreams with memories. But here's the thing, Lena keeps a notebook. Always has. Writes everything down. And tucked in the back of that spiral-bound book, behind torn receipts and faded sketches, I found one single entry dated 2 days before Calvin vanished. The old man is not what he seems. He's not old. He's not a man. I think he came back to look for something we buried. She doesn't remember writing it. Doesn't even believe it's hers. She says the handwriting's too neat. But I watched her hand tremble when she read it. And something else, she's changed. Not just forgetting. Her personality slips, sometimes mid-sentence, like she's two people sharing a skin. One of them tired and scared, the other calm, too calm. Like she's rehearsing emotions she doesn't feel anymore. At 3:12 a.m. last night, she left me a voicemail. No greeting, no words. Just 5 seconds of breathing. And faintly, in the background a child, humming something tuneless. She swears she didn't call me, but her phone log shows the outgoing call. I played the voicemail back in my apartment. Speakers low, lights off, just me and the sound. And somewhere, around the third second, the hum changed pitch. For a split breath, it wasn't humming at all. It was a scream, slowed down and reversed. The kind of sound that hurts to listen to, like it's coming from inside a place your body can't reach. I haven't slept since. Lena came over this morning. She brought coffee and asked if I remembered a man named Raymond. The name felt familiar, but slippery like a childhood dream you remember only when brushing your teeth, and even then it fades like breath on glass. I told her no, and she nodded, too quickly, like she didn't believe me. Then she pulled out an old Polaroid of 3 people at a 4th of July cookout. I recognized myself, recognized Lena, and the third man, Calvin, smiling, holding a beer, wearing the same coat. The pictures dated July 4, 1997. I was born in 95. That would be made me 2 years old. But in the photo, I looked 20-5. And now, I'm starting to notice other things, small things. Objects in my apartment. I don't remember buying clothes that fit perfectly but feel unfamiliar. A chipped coffee mug that says "Ask her about the tunnel" in smeared red paint. Though I live alone and haven't had company in weeks. Sometimes I walk past a mirror and swear the reflection's not in sync, just a half second too slow. Just like Lena said about Calvin's shadow, I tried to confront her about it. About the memory holes, the Polaroid, the whispers on the radio. She smiled, not the Lena I knew, but that other side of her, and said something I can't shake. You keep thinking it's about Calvin. It never was. He just sees who's next. Next for what? She wouldn't say. Just stared out the window like she was waiting for a car that wasn't coming. Or listening to something I couldn't hear. I went back to that Waffle House. I needed to know if I made it all up, if maybe none of this was real. Just a breakdown finally clawing its way up from the dark. But when I got there, the place was boarded up. Yellow tape fluttering in the wind. News clippings stapled to the plywood. Local Waffle House burns in unexplainable fire. No survivors, dated 3 years ago. And now I have no idea where I am. Literally. My GPS keeps recalculating. My phone says it's 2025, but plays voicemails from numbers with area codes that don't exist anymore. Last night, I heard someone whisper my name through the bathroom faucet. Not in a scary way. In a familiar way, like a sister I never had. Like someone who's been trying to wake me up. But the worst part, I got another voicemail from Lena just now. Same pattern. No words, just breathing. But this time it wasn't hers, it was mine. I don't remember leaving it, and behind my breath, clearer now. Louder than before, the girl, laughing, saying my name. Then something else, almost buried in static, like someone speaking through wet cloth. Tell him not to follow the girl in white. Then it cuts, and I swear, before the silence hits, there's one final sound, the squeal of bike tires. And Calvin's voice, saying my name. It's not about what happened at the gas station. It's not about what I saw or what the cameras missed. It's not even about the warnings. It's about the cracks, the fault lines underneath memory, the seams they stitched shut with fear and medicine and routine. Something is bleeding through now. Something we were all trained to forget. And the worst part is, I think I've seen the girl in white. Not out in the world. Not in person, but in a photo on my fridge, smiling, standing in the background of a birthday party I don't remember attending. And the date stamped at the bottom. Tomorrow, ask ChatGPT. Alina hasn't blinked in 47 seconds. I counted. She's sitting, cross-legged on the motel bed across from me, hands clasped so tight her knuckles have gone bloodless. The motel room smells like mildew and ammonia. Cheap bleach, failing to mask something older like rot beneath wallpaper or teeth in a drain. That won't unclog. I'm holding the photo again, the one from the fridge. I tore it into 4 pieces earlier this morning, convinced it wasn't real, convinced I wasn't real. But when I opened my glove box 20 minutes ago, it was there and torn, slightly warm, smelling faintly of gardenia. The girl in white is still smiling in the background, the party balloons blurred behind her head like a halo. Lena says she remembers now. That's the part that scared me. She sat up suddenly, around 3:12 a.m., just as I was about to doze off in the armchair, and said, "We were wrong. It wasn't Calvin's warning, it was hers." At first I felt something ease in my chest. That slippery, sour tension that had been nesting behind my ribs for days began to loosen, like it had been waiting for someone else to say it first. Like maybe all of this was explainable after all, some kind of buried trauma, resurfacing, shared delusion, maybe a glitch in the brain. Maybe we'd finally found the thread. Lena reached into her duffel and pulled out something I didn't know. She still had the original cassette, the one from her grandfather's truck, the one we thought we lost years ago. I didn't remember hearing it before, but when she pressed play, the sound that came out didn't surprise me. That's the strange thing about recovered memory. It doesn't feel like discovering something new. It feels like watching your own reflection move before you do. The tape word cracked, and then a voice, young, breathy, came through. A girl's voice, not laughing this time, singing, a broken, looping melody with no lyrics, just vibrations. That felt like they touched something under language. My stomach turned, not from fear, from recognition. I heard that same sound once when I was 7, and until tonight, I didn't know it wasn't a dream. Back then, I told my mother I heard music coming from the crawlspace under the porch. She checked, laughed, said it was probably the neighbors, but I remember kneeling there for hours, ear pressed to the wood, fingers trembling, not because the music was scary, but because it made me feel like someone had left a message just for me, like someone knew I was listening. And then I forgot. For over 2 decades, I forgot. Until now. The realization came like a slow, dull knife. This wasn't just about Calvin, or the gas station, or the bikers who vanished without a trace. This was older, deeper, a pattern repeating under the surface of everything. Every coincidence in my life, the radio static that made me feel watched, the faces I half recognized in crowds, the recurring dream of a tunnel filled with humming, was all the same voice trying to break through. Lena was trembling. She said, "I think the girl in white is the only one telling the truth. I think she's been warning us all along." And for a moment, I believed her. We started combing through boxes in her trunk, old documents, printouts, half-treaded hospital records, incident reports tied to locations we'd visited without remembering why, places where people vanished, where fires happened with no known origin, where security footage always cut to black. 2 minutes before something went wrong, one file stuck out. A report from 1997, a small town in Arkansas. 2 teens missing. 1 survivor mute, unresponsive, locked in a psych ward for 6 months. The only words she wrote in her journal: "Don't follow her voice. It sounds like someone you know." My hands shook, reading it, because I recognized the name of the missing boy, Raymond, the same name Lena asked about, the name that scratched at the back of my skull like it belonged there. I thought maybe we'd found it, the missing link, the root of all this. We packed up, planned to drive to the town Flat Rock. Maybe someone there remembered. Maybe we'd find a relative, a pattern, an answer. For the first time, it felt like we were ahead of it, like we were driving toward the mystery instead of away from it. We got to Flat Rock at sunset, but the town was gone. Not abandoned, not burned, just ... gone. No road signs, no street markers. The GPS spun in circles, unable to orient, and in the middle of where the town should have been, there was only one thing, a radio tower, standing crooked, buzzing faintly, a cassette player duct taped to its base. And when we pressed play, expecting the girl's voice, expecting the song we heard, something else entirely. My voice, desperate, panicked, saying things I have no memory of recording. "Lena's not who you think she is. She remembers more than she says. She lied about the fire. She was there. The tape ended there, and when I turned around, Lena was gone. Just ... gone. Like a scene pulled from a film reel mid-frame, and in her place, something else stood. It looked like Lena, moved like her. Same backpack, same posture, but the eyes were wrong. Not evil, just wrong. To still, like they'd been watching the entire time and only now decided to mimic a blink. She smiled, too wide, and said, "You're almost there." I ran, remember how far, or for how long, just that I ended up back in the car, engine running, my hands scratched and bruised. Something had tried to stop me. Not physically, it was more like the road itself kept looping, folding back in on itself. Every mile looked identical, same billboard with the faded preacher, same dead dog on the shoulder, same ache behind my left eye. When I finally made it out, it was morning, but the date on my phone, August 2nd, I checked again, August 2nd, 1997. Not a glitch, not a joke. Every device in the car said the same. The cassette reappeared on the dashboard. The radio started humming again, and in the rearview, for one split second, I saw myself, older eyes, hollow, sitting in the back seat, watching. And now I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if Lena ever existed. If I do, because when I finally got cell signal, the first message waiting in my inbox was from a number marked unknown. It was a voicemail. I pressed play, and heard myself say, in a voice stripped of all emotion, "Don't follow the girl in white. She's trying to make you remember who you really are." And in the background, someone's crying, then laughing, then singing, like a memory you thought was safe but never was. And just now, I found an old birthday card tucked into my glove box. Dated July 4th, 1997, it says, "We're so proud of you, Raymond. Love, Mom and Dad." Only my name isn't Raymond, right? There are others. I didn't want to believe it at first. Thought maybe it was just the paranoia, the leftover static in my head from the tape. The blurred timeline, the voice that sounded like mine but didn't feel like me. But 3 nights ago, I woke up to the sound of someone breathing on the other side of the wall in a motel room I booked under a false name. In a town I've never been to, off a highway that shouldn't exist on any map. The wall was concrete. The breathing never stopped, not until I pressed my palm against it. Not until I whispered, "Lena." What came back wasn't a voice, it was tapping. 3 soft taps, then silence, then 3 more. Over and over, until I realized it wasn't random. It was Morse code. I recorded it, played it back, slowed it down, translated. It read, "You are not the first." The file deleted itself 10 minutes later. That same night, I found a note slipped under the motel door. No envelope. No handwriting, just laser printed on stiff paper that smelled like old wood and metal. It had only one sentence. "We've been watching since the first breach. Stop following the girl in white." And at the bottom, barely visible under the lamplight, was a symbol. A perfect black spiral enclosed in a triangle. Something about it pulled at my gut, like a memory too sharp to handle all at once. I tried Googling it, nothing, not even on the deep forums. But when I reverse image searched a frame from the Waffle House security footage one I kept offline for safety, the spiral was there, tucked into the pattern of the tiles behind Calvin, like it had always been there, hiding in plain sight. And the kicker, I never noticed it before, not once. Now I'm seeing it everywhere, scratched into tree bark on the side of back roads, carved faintly into the wood of public benches, hidden in graffiti behind gas stations. It's been here longer than we've known. Watching, marking. I started leaving messages on obscure online forums, digging for others, trying to bait responses with vague phrases only someone who'd seen what I've seen would recognize. Within 3 hours, I got 47 replies. Within 6, every thread was scrubbed, IPs traced, accounts deleted, but one message got through. An encrypted email sent from a dead domain registered in 2004, forwarded through a chain of burner addresses. It contained a single .mp4 file. Recovered footage. Tulsa Station, July 1997. I hit play with shaking hands. The video looked like it was recorded on a shoulder camera DV tape. Timestamp flickering. The camera's pointed toward a convenience store parking lot. A man in a gray hoodie approaches a payphone. He lifts the receiver, dials 3 numbers, pauses, then drops it. A second later, he stumbles back, clutching his head. Behind him, barely visible in the reflection of the store's glass door, the girl in white. Same expressionless face. Same stillness that doesn't fit the motion around her. But this time she moves. She steps forward, hand raised, mouth forming a word. And the footage skips, not a glitch. More like a piece of the tape resisted being seen. Like it didn't want you to understand. When it cuts back in, the payphone's off the hook. The man's gone. The parking lot is empty. But the camera is still recording. And that spiral, it's glowing on the back wall of the store. Dim, pulsing, alive, like it knows it's being watched. That footage was never released to the public. No news coverage, no missing person report, no digital footprint. Because the man in the hoodie, was Raymond. Not just a name, not just a whisper, a real person. And if the footage is real and it feels real and he's been gone longer than I've been alive. I found another clue, buried in metadata coordinates embedded in the file. A barn on the outskirts of Texarkana. I drove there the next day. Nothing but weeds, rot, and broken beams. But carved into the floorboards was a phrase I recognized instantly. "You were right all along." Below it, a list of names, dozens, all crossed out, except one. Mine. I don't know how long I stood there, tracing the etching with my fingers, heart beating too loud to hear anything else. But when I turned around, someone was standing in the doorway. Not Lena. Not Calvin. Someone else. Older, pale, a long gray coat, weather-beaten face, eyes that looked like they'd seen too much and weren't surprised by any of it. He said nothing at first, just walked in. Slow, deliberate. Then he handed me a folded piece of paper. "They lied to you," he said, voice like rusted hinges. "They lied to all of us. They don't want you to remember because remembering pulls you back in." I asked who they were. He shook his head. "Doesn't matter. You'll meet them eventually. We all do." Then he touched my shoulder, hard, like grounding me. "This isn't about truth. It's about containment. They don't want you dead. They want you confused, because that's where it's safest for them. Doubt is their lock. And you're holding the key every time you dream about the tunnel." I didn't tell him I hadn't dreamed of the tunnel. In weeks, I didn't have to. He was already gone, and in my hand the paper, inside, another spiral. This one different. Broken, incomplete, with 3 words under it. "Break the loop." I went back to the motel. The room was gone, not emptied. Gone. Walls repainted, number changed. Manager swore no one had checked in under my name. Said the wing had been closed for renovation since April. That was 2 weeks ago. And now, I'm not sleeping. I've started seeing the spiral form in my peripheral vision, out of coffee stains. Puddles, condensation on mirrors. People I talk to start repeating themselves without knowing. A woman at a diner blinked once and whispered, "We remember who you were, Raymond." But I never told her that name. And last night, something new happened. I got an email, don't know subject, no sender, just a single image file, a Polaroid of me as a child, standing in front of the old house on Lantern Road. I remember that house. We moved out after the fire. They said it started from faulty wiring. But in the photo, the house isn't burning, it's intact. And standing behind me, the girl in white, she's looking into the camera, but her eyes are mine, same shape, same color. Exact match. I zoomed in until the pixels broke apart, and in the grain of her dress barely visible was the spiral. One final email followed 10 minutes later. Plain text, no images. You weren't supposed to wake up yet, but now that you have, we're watching again, all of us. The message wasn't addressed to me, it was addressed to you. So if you're still here, if you're still reading, look around. Has the spiral started to show up for you? Because if it has, you were right all along. They did lie. They've always been watching. And now, they know you know.